And we are joined by the Commissioner of the Southern California Football Association, SCFA for short, the Commissioner, Jim Sartoris. And Jim, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for being patient with us. And how are you doing today?
I'm just fine. I appreciate the opportunity to maybe shed some light on what the future holds as far as community college football.
All right, thank you. And we need some light shed. And so, Mark, first question is always to you. Where are we going as we head right into this COVID situation, community college football in California, and when and if we'll get on before the fall?
Well, first of all, let's go back in Jim's career, because most people look at commissioners and wonder where they came from. And of course, the young man sitting to my right on the screen historically has a great background as a coach in community college football. Also, you were a player in community college football. So, Jim, a little background about yourself. I know you and I are the two oldest guys up here. Corey's the youngster in the group. So give everybody a little background on you so they know what sort of background you have in becoming commissioner of the SCFA.
Well, I've been attached to community colleges here in California for well over 50 years. I started as a student athlete 1962 in 3 seasons. I played at Glendale College. Was fortunate enough to get an opportunity to go to the University of Washington and played a couple of years there. Came back into Southern California after my playing career and actually started coaching as an assistant coach at Glendale in 1967. And by 72, I was named the head coach and was a head coach until the late 80s and stayed on as an assistant coach after that, becoming athletic director and retired in 2007. At that time, we were forming the Southern California Football Association, which is an association of 37 Southern California community colleges that sponsored football at the intercollegiate level. And so we used the model that came from up north and divided ourselves into competitive divisions and leagues within those competitive divisions. And we're going into our 12th season as an association. Unfortunately, this season is on hold right now, and it's crazy times. But I think the Association of the Colleges for Football as a conference has really benefited our student athletes in our programs, and we've developed a great reputation amongst all community colleges. As you know, here in the United States of America, we probably have more community colleges playing football than the rest of the nation combined. So we're handling, here in Southern California, we're handling over 3,000 student athletes in football every year and another almost 3,000 up north. So almost every major college in the nation is using California community college athletes that have transferred on. So we think we're doing some good, and we're just hoping we can continue here in this tough times.
You know, Corey, what he didn't tell us is when he was coach, because I thought if Scott Giles would have been on tonight, we'd had a couple people that had that elite, I've got one on my finger, national championship, because he was a coach of a national championship team when we look at it. So, let's give due where due should go sometimes when we talk about individuals that know about their sport and everything else. A very prestigious college career. You had a great playing days at Washington. As a matter of fact, I went back and looked at your stats while you were there. when you played at Washington. Yeah, they're up. They're up. You can actually find them
Well,
and do that. Because I
the
thought,
older I get, the better I was.
that's it. That's it. But you were a coach of a national championship community college team. And Corey, in saying that, you look at that ideology, Jim, I want to go back before I let Corey we actually get into the COVID aspect of this. Because one question and I know it's bothered Corey and I for years, Corey and I who have been broadcasting, as you know, community college football, roughly 18 to 19 years now, have always felt that community college sports in general and community college football at one time was a great buck, $5, $2 football game that the entire family could go to. And over the years, community college football has gone from 40,000 fans to 20,000 fans to what, Corey? 858 fans a game now. Jim, as being one of the commissioners and being somebody who was a coach for many years with the national team, that's one of the things that has bothered me that I really wonder, where is the status of community college football, not only in California, but around the nation? I mean, can we look at it that way? What would you tell me the status of it is right now?
Well, our emphasis obviously is we understand that community college is a transition time for student athletes. And we get a whole host of different backgrounds coming into the community college level. The great athlete who maybe needs a little more academic preparation before they move on. The latecomer athlete that is a great student but really hasn't developed his skills yet. And so the way we look at it, we're a transition time. We're in a situation where we're developing both students, both as in their academic career and their skill development, and giving opportunities for them to move on. It's unfortunate that it's not like the old days where we had the Junior Rose Bowl and 60,000 people in the Junior Rose Bowl way back in the 50s, but we still got a great product. And as I said before, almost every major college, every college playing football hardly in the United States are using California community college transfers. So we think we're helping student athletes. That's our goal, is to give them opportunities to move on. And with the proliferation of TV and major colleges, we've kind of stepped back from that. I know when I played, we were on TV a little bit here in the local area, but you don't get that anymore, and it's unfortunate because we got a great product.
Yeah, definitely a great product. Me and Mark always promote it and always, speak highly of it, because it is a product that not many people know about it anymore. I mean, you walk on campus, we both instructed football. You walk on campus, we have a football team. Wow, I didn't know that. And it's one of those things that it's getting back. It's one of the things we'll discuss a little bit later, that it's getting back to it. Once again, we're here with the SCFA Commissioner, Jim Sartoris. And Jim, back to the founding of the SCFA. What was the reasoning behind the founding of it, and why get away from the old, Mission Conference, Foothill Conference, and break it down into just the two?
Well, for many, many years, obviously, football was part of the all sports conferences. There were 4 or 5 conferences here in the South, and it just seemed that football was a little bit different than most of the other sports. A sport that generates a lot of publicity. We have, like I said, 3 to 3,500 students coming through our programs each year, and it's a little bit different than the other sports. And I think the other sports kind of wanted to see us go our own way and develop our own conference. And we do something that's a little bit different than the rest of the sports here in the community college level. part of our governing system is that coaches are involved. Most of the other sports, there's just athletic directors and administrative reps doing the governance of their conference. In our situation, we have athletic directors and coaches representing their college and their leagues. And so I think we get a great input from the coaching level as well as the administrative level, and that has proved to be quite beneficial, I think, to our programs, to our student athletes. So that's kind of how we run things, a little different, but it's like I said, for 12 years, it's proven to be pretty successful.
Jim, you talked about when you started the SCFA that you took an outline from Northern California. So maybe I misinterpreted what you said, but go back into that statement. I mean, was there this solid organization in Northern California and the Southern California section looked at it and said, we need to duplicate this? Or was it just something that Northern California came down and said to the people of Southern California, we need to be more uniform for football and you need to create something like that?
Well, I think it's maybe a little bit of both, but in order to save programs, and that's basically what it was, is that they saw that they were going to lose some programs up there, so they decided to form an association together, a conference together of all their football playing schools, and separate into competitive divisions in order to save some schools so that they had a chance for success. And as you know, you have a little bit of success, no matter what level of competition you're at, you have a chance to build them. And that's what they developed. And we saw that as a possibility for us here in the South, as some of our programs were starting to have a situation where they may have to drop the sport. So we saw the benefits of what they did, and by going to that association and developing competitive levels of football, we gave our schools chances of surviving, of being competitive, and having a chance for success and develop their programs. And so it really turned out to be a situation where the whole state now became unified under the two major conferences for football.
Okay, and so you talk about that purpose and the goals become unified. In the 12 years that it's been in existence, we've seen some phenomenal teams, some phenomenal games. How was it to structure the two divisions?
Yeah, that's always been the big challenge of how to place teams into competitive division. And we have an executive committee, we have a competition committee, and it both consist of both athletic directors and football coaches from each league, okay? And they decide by looking at various data on records, past records associated with our competition levels, and about every 2 years we analyze where we are, what schools should move up, what schools have had a struggle at maybe the top level and should move down, just to give them a chance and their athletes a chance for success. And so it's really worked out great. I mean, it's not an easy thing to do, but it's a collaborative effort, and we get all our leagues representative involved, and it's turned out we've gone back and forth between 2 levels and 3 levels, trying to find the right blend. But right now it's in a phase of two competitive levels. The top level has a chance to move on to the regionals and the state championship. the lower level have a chance to play in bowl games, and so we're giving a little bit of incentive to everybody to have a chance to be successful and to improve their programs and give an opportunity to their student athletes to be successful.
What's the most difficult part of that restructuring?
Well, some of it is subjective, of course. We try to use objective data as much as possible. Past 2-year records. We have an appeal process by which the colleges can appeal to move up or down, and we have a certain criteria by which we try to analyze those appeals to see if their rationale, their justifications meet what we think are necessary to keep the competitive balance. It's not an easy thing, but it's a democratic thing. We have, like I said, a competition committee that works on it with equal representation from all our leagues. And so it's not an easy thing, but I think it's a fair process. And it's amazing how over the years I've seen for 12 years, teams that have moved down generated some success and then moved back up and been very successful, went into bowl games at the top level. So I think it's working. I think it really has been a good thing for us. And I think 99% of our coaches and our colleges see the benefit of it.
We notice how Jim's trying to be extremely diplomatic because, Jim, Corey and I have been around for 18 years, and we've met all the coaches you're talking about. And we've had the off-the-record conversations with a lot of those coaches we're talking about. So I've got to ask you your aspect of being the commissioner, because you're dealing with multiple personalities of highly competitive individuals who have likes and dislikes for their fellow competitors. So how much final say do you have in all of this? Because Corey and I are highly competitive against each other. I'm never going to side with Corey. He's never going to side with me. He thinks I ought to get moved down. You ought to get moved up. So are you the final say when it push comes to shove in that whole group? Or, I mean, I'm trying to figure out what the commissioner actually does.
Well, let's put it this way. We have a constitution and bylaws. And the constitution and bylaws basically, for 12 years, have put the final conferencing, the moving people into leagues on the plate of the commissioner. Okay, and I think that's a good thing, even though it's a tough thing to do. But it's hard to make a big decision when you have a committee of a lot of people trying to make one decision. So I believe that the association have put confidence in the commissioner that he's going to be objective. He has no stake in the game as far as which colleges go into which division or what league. By that I mean the commissioner is completely neutral. And when you have a big committee trying to make decisions, then you have self-interest situations occur.
Right.
And so part of my philosophy is I want to be of service to community college football. I put my life into it for over 50 years. And part of service is leadership. And I hope that I am presenting the type of leadership that our colleges understand that, I'm being neutral, I'm being as fair as I can, and I'm making decisions with the recommendations of our competition committee, by the way. I just don't do it offhandedly. I seek information from the competition committee about who should move up, who should move to different leagues, and then I take that in consideration, and I try to use my experience and make the right decision for not just one college, but what's best for the total association. It's a tough thing.
How has COVID affected the SCFA, California Community College football?
Well, obviously, it's in every part of our lives, not just athletics, but every part of our lives. It's affected us. My major concern is the well-being of our student athletes, to give them opportunities to participate. COVID is briefly, for a while here, taken that away. And my heart goes out to the student athletes that haven't been able to participate. We've lost the fall season here. We're hoping for us to move into the spring, but right now, that's not looking good. And the COVID pandemic is something that is new ground for us. We've never had to deal with this situation before in athletics, and my philosophy right from the beginning, when I'm working with our executive committee, when I'm working with our competition committee, is plan for the best, but prepare for the worst. And so we keep planning. As months go by, we keep changing the direction we're going in to try and find a way to participate. Eventually, we have to adjust. And here we are, from last March all the way to now. Here we're in December. We're still not playing, but we still are planning for a possibility of participating in the spring. Who knows where that's go? But we've got to stay optimistic. And as I said, my biggest concern is for our student athletes. We've got to keep them engaged. We've got to keep them in school. I know it's tough not being on the campuses, doing all their classes online, but it's so important to keep them engaged. And my heart and my head goes out to all our coaches that struggle to keep their student athletes engaged in school, working with them to hopefully plan for the best, that we can do some type of competition here in the spring. And almost weekly things change, so who knows what's going to happen from here on out. But we continue to press for the possibility that we can keep our athletes engaged and possibly competing here in some type of spring competition.
Jim, one of the things that's confusing, and I don't know if it's confusing for Corey, but it's confusing for me, is I'll see this school is opting out, this school is opting in, this school doesn't know, this school may play, Riverside may play football, but Fullerton's not going to play, Golden West College is not going to play, Palomar's not going to play, and I mean, it rolls over into D1 too. And my whole concern is, if we're really concerned about the student athletes, why is not everyone in community college sports on the same page? And Corey Neyland says, hey, Mark, if you're not playing, we're not playing, Jim's not playing, let's all just call it off. As a commissioner, what are those, and I mean, yeah, I'm looking for insider information here. What are those conversations with you saying to somebody, well, how come you guys are opting in? 75% of the schools are opting out. What's your thinking on this? So I've got to ask you, I mean, what is the conversation going on amongst all of you on the opt-in, opt-out situation?
Well, it depends who you talk to. If you talk to coaches, coaches want to play.
Right.
Student athletes want to play. If you gave them the sole authority to make the decision, we'd all be playing. Okay?
Right.
But you know that there's several levels up the ladder that make decisions, starting with the governor. The governor can call everything off if he wants. The the counties can call things off. The school boards and presidents make decisions for various reasons. So as a commissioner, I have very little say in it, and coaches have very little say in it. We're at the mercy of what the situation is in the local area. Not only that, but the statewide. So we, like I said, we keep planning for the best scenario, but we have very little say. But I tell you, if you ask coaches, they want to play, and students want to play. The other factor in all of this is that when an individual college has to make that decision, there's other things that they have to deal with, and that is the testing protocols for the virus. The testing protocols are, I think, one of the biggest challenges we have. We want to have a situation where our student athletes are safe. The California Health Department has put on several protocols that we have to deal with. And those protocols for higher education, which we're a part of, are pretty strict. And maybe for good reason, because they want to protect the health of their student athletes. But those testing protocols are very expensive. And some colleges may be able financially to handle those testing protocols, others cannot. So even though they want to play, financially, they can't afford it. So, if you talk to any particular athletic director or college president, they come to it from a different angle because of some of those dynamics that are involved.
Okay.
And you just answered two of the questions I had for you right now about the safety protocols and the financial aspect. Because when this all came out, I was one of the guys who said, just shut everything down, come out and play in the fall of 2021. Because, how do you get those safety protocols in there? How do you safely play? So when it first came out, what was the thinking of the SCFA about how is this going to affect you financially as an association? And how is it going to affect not just this year, but in the long run?
Well, we're a dues-paying organization, and colleges are going to pay their dues to the conference as they usually do. And if we don't play, then obviously the amount of income is going to be carried over to the next season. So I think we can handle that okay. It's what can the individual colleges handle as far as testing protocols? Should we play? And that's the big question. As I said, some colleges can handle, testing those student athletes every week. And right now, if you're going to compete, you've got to get a positive test 48 hours before your competition. And it's the PCR test, which is expensive, $75 to $100 a test. And you got a team of 80 kids plus your coaches, up to 100 people every week for 5, 6, 7 games. It's a lot of money. And I think some colleges can't handle that right now. And I understand that. Our hope has always been, we'll get over this virus, we'll get the vaccine, and then those protocols will be reduced, by February or March. But who knows? We're hoping that, but it doesn't look good right now, does it?
No, not at all.
And Corey, I'm going to follow up because something you and I had a conversation about, and Jim, I sort of think this works hand in hand. Corey and I were talking about how nobody, at least on the state level, because you brought up the governor, you brought up county commissioners and mayors, and you name them, that may be in a position. And we talked about the student athletes, so many of them that go to these community colleges, and sports bring them there, and hopefully they get an education from it. And they're there because of their sport, and secondary for a lot of them, as we know, the education is secondary, but the sport brought them there. How many people at the upper levels, be it the governor's office, the county commissioner's offices, and everybody else, has been in contact with organizations like the SCFA and sat down and talked to you about the young men, the young women that may be playing community college sports, because it has to do with education. If I can get the athlete there, the athlete will get educated. Corey and I see the student athlete getting lost here. So who have they come to you and said,
Well,
hey, let's talk?
They haven't come to me personally, but they certainly have input from the CCC2A, which is California Community College Athletic Association, which is our governing body. And as athletic directors, the Athletic Directors Association developed a beautiful white paper at the beginning of this whole pandemic situation, sending it to all the presidents of all the colleges and the leadership in Sacramento, trying to emphasize how important athletics was. A huge amount of our student athletes are what we call at-risk athletes. They come from disadvantaged situations. Their road to success is through athletics and community college. And if you can't provide an athletic experience, some of them will drop out of school. They'll hang out on the streets. And that's what we try to emphasize to the leadership, how important community college athletics is. It's the magnet that draws in a lot of these at-risk students and gets them turned on to education and helps them move on to a four-year school and a great career, hopefully. And it's just not the ones that are going to go into the pros, but they get an opportunity to get an education at this level and at the four-year level. So we have tried to emphasize to our leadership throughout the state, at every level, college presidents, how important those programs are to our student athletes. And I think every president of every college would want to go ahead and offer a program, but they understand the problems associated with the financial parts of it, the safety part of it. And we do know that as an age group, the virus isn't as devastating to our age level that we deal with in the student athlete from 18 to 22 or 23 is what we deal with mostly. But there's teachers, there's coaches, there's parents at home. So I know they have to weigh all that, and I'd hate to be a college president and have to make that decision right now.
Yeah, none of us would want to make that decision, really. How beneficial, specifically for football, is that going to be moving forward?
Well, I think it's great. If we do play at all, we have waived that year of eligibility. And I just heard recently that the NC2A will honor that waiver. So basically, if we do get to play, or some schools get to play, it will not count against them as far as their 4 years of eligibility, either our 2 years here or the 2 years after going to the four-year school. So that was a great move by our governing body, the CCC2A, and the NC2A at all the levels, 1, 2, and 3, and the NAIA. I understand will honor that now. So the big thing now is keeping them engaged. Keep our student athletes in school, going to class, keep them in contact. And right now we have a proposal that if we don't play games here at the community college level in football, we are proposing that we have some sort of padded spring practice late in the spring, maybe April, May, where we can go through a series of full equipment being issued, going through practices as they do in the four-year schools at the spring time, the spring practices. And at that time, there's an opportunity for four-year schools, college recruiters to come out. It's their recruiting time when they can come on campus and watch our student athletes in their spring practice. So if we don't get to play, we're hoping that we can move in that direction. And again, it's the major benefit of that is we keep our student athletes engaged, because in order to participate in that type of activity, if approved, they have to be in school, they have to be enrolled in the class, and that kind of thing. So we're not giving up. We're not giving up, man.
Right. And Mark, real quick, again, we're here with Jim Sartoris, the commissioner of the Scfa. And Mark, go ahead. We're going to take it to that legislative forum that we were talking about after your next question.
Go ahead, Corey. I'll let you go, and then I'll follow up, because I may take Jim. He may say, "Well, it's been fun tonight," so that's it. So go ahead.
Okay. Then I was taking a look at a review of the legislative forum from the CCCAA that you were part of this week, and it brought up a couple of interesting aspects, especially during COVID. One was the recruiting. How is COVID changing the recruiting aspect? And also your championship bowl game proposal at the end that you presented. Could you explain a little bit more about those two in particular?
Well, I tell you, I was a coach for 40 years, and I cannot believe what our coaches are going through right now. They cannot recruit face to face. They can't travel any place. They can't go onto campuses. They can't go into homes and meet parents. Everything is done over Zoom or these types of formats. And my hat is off to what our coaches have gone through as far as the recruiting process. And as long as this pandemic stays where it's at, they're not going to be able to have in-person contact with any recruit, any place, even next door, in the high school next door. So, like I said, my hat goes off to our coaches. They're doing a great job trying to keep everyone involved. I don't think we're going to have any type of state playoff or anything of that sort here in the spring. Even if we do get to play some games, I think that's really off the table right now. Our big hope is that we can do something in ways of playing some games, or at least, as I said, those padded practices where we keep their skill level up and get prepared for next fall. And hopefully we've got this thing under control and we can start again next fall.
And Mark, one more before I let you take over everything. Speaking of next fall, it also during that forum about adding a week to the season for football in the fall. Explain a little bit more about that as well, because I found that interesting, because I didn't quite get everything.
Well, it particularly affects us here in the South, and at times up in the North. We have an odd number of teams. We have 37 teams. So our American division has an odd number. We have 19 teams. So in order to get 10 games in 11 week season, we have to schedule in a way that there's a bye every week, okay? Because we have an odd number. So in week one, we're going to have some team not play and then have to play 10 straight games, okay? And then in week 11, we have a team that has a bye that's played 10 straight. And then, it dominoes from there, 9 straight or whatever. So So adding a week to the season, getting a 12-week, we can get some buys in the middle so teams won't have to play 10 in a row or 9 in a row. And it's really for the health and safety of our student athletes that they get a break. And so that would really help us if we could get an extra week in which to play our 10-game regular season, because we can spread things out a little bit more equity as far as rest and recuperation from games. And I think it would be a great advantage to our student athletes.
Okay.
And speaking of student athletes, Jim, if people were around Corey Neyland and myself, when we're not on the air, they would listen to us talk about a lot of rules that are in community college football and NCAA football, rules that don't necessarily benefit the student athlete. So as a commissioner, is there something down the road that if you could change, would there be something down the road that you might try to change that would benefit the student athlete, be it that they would gain, be it housing, food, security as being a student athlete? Because some of those rules seem to get skirted and then people get punished by them. So is there some way we can develop a rule that the student athletes of any gender are more protected as we go forward in the areas of health, housing, et cetera, et cetera?
Well, yeah, I'm probably a little old school. I believe in the word community when you attach it to community college. I'm in favor of anything that's going to help opportunity for the local athlete first. Okay. And because I think, obviously, if you can live at home, go to school, a lot of your problems are solved. But if you're out on your own, trying to find money to pay rent and meals, that's a little tougher situation. And so, but I know that we've overcome that in many ways. We now on our campuses have meal programs that can help students with meals. Our biggest concern always as a commissioner is the subsidization violations that may occur when you bring students in and in some way maybe help them in a way that is really not beneficial and legal as far as helping them with with some of their financial needs. My big thing is giving opportunities to students. And I would love to see an opportunity for a student that, let's say, goes to some of our bigger programs where there might be 100, 125, 130, 150 kids in the spring program. They come in maybe as a freshman into the fall, and all of a sudden they realize, hey, I'm not going to play. There's too many people here. Is there a way that I could go to a school that maybe has a little fewer students and have an opportunity to play? Right now, once you step on the field the first day of practice in August, you can't go anyplace else and participate that year. I would love to see an opportunity for some of those athletes, maybe the first week of practice, if they see the writing on the wall. The coaches know the writing on the wall too. They know that they're not going to play for them. Give them an opportunity to transfer. I would love to see that, and I've pushed for it, and a lot of people have pushed for it, but we haven't been able to move that forward yet. But it's all about opportunity and giving these kids a chance to compete someplace. And community college is a different breed, man. It's year-round recruiting. It's tough on our coaches. It's tough on our student athletes, and but we gotta. We as far as I'm concerned, the SCFA tries to, have a level playing field as much as we can. But as well as I do, there's some that have it, and some colleges that are struggling, and so it's. it's tough, but it's all about our student athletes trying to give them an equal opportunity to compete and have a chance for success, both in the classroom and the field.
Did you have one more, Mark? I was good.
No, that's it. I think, you know what? I got to thank Jim. He's been very, very candid with us. I know he's in a tough position because he's dealing with you and I. And
Yeah,
we all know that.
Because you're dealing with you and I wanted to ask, how do you deal with the criticisms that are levied your way? Because as the commissioner of the SCFA, you're the guy who gets all the criticism because everybody else, we got your back, but you're going to be in our front, so you can take everything. How do you deal with the criticisms that you get?
Well, I just do the best I can. I firmly believe that I'm neutral. I don't favor any college over another college. Every situation I've dealt with, I've always thought of, how will I handle this situation if it was another college here or that other college. I've tried to be as fair as I can, and I in my heart I know I've been fair in any ruling I've ever made. But at the same time, I don't see myself as some autocrat. I work closely with the executive committee that we discuss every item that comes up, and I don't arbitrarily do anything. The toughest part of my job, obviously, if there's a violation of some of the state rules, either on eligibility or recruiting or something like that, I have to deal with it. And but I deal with it in a way that I think is fair, not only to the school that has the alleged violation, but to all the other schools that that are part of the association.
Corey, one more thing before I let Jim go, because you and I have talked about it. Jim, have you ever, as a representative from the SCFA and the coaches and the committee and everything else, done what Corey Neyland has suggested on the air more than once? Reach out across state lines to Arizona, Utah, or anything else to have interstate competitions against other community colleges from other states?
Yeah, I think that wouldn't be a bad idea for some of our colleges that are on the border areas, right, to be able to compete out of state. Right now, though, we do have a state rule that says we must compete within our own state, and that's for all sports. I don't believe that it's just football. Unfortunately, Arizona has dropped all their programs, which is really, really unfortunate. We just want to make sure we have 10 games for every one of our colleges. And in the old days, we used to, when colleges had to arrange for their own competition, a lot of our really good schools had problems getting 10 games. So they would go out of state. But that's a financial situation that occurs when you have to travel out of state, and so just recently we've been playing within the state. One other thing that has been proposed, however, is to have our state champion play someone from the NJCAA and have some type of national championship game. How about that?
Well,
that would be awesome.
That's funny because we discuss that every single year. When is that going to happen? Because it needs to happen. It's one of those things that it just makes sense for that to happen every single year. So we love that. I'd love to see
it. Yeah. and we've had a lot of discussions that way. But yeah. Go ahead.
Make it happen. Tell them to come see me. Come see me. We'll make that happen. Go see Mark. Go see Mark. Definitely making that happen. And Jim, as always, we like to have our guests. Before we let you go, is there anything you want to mention, especially during this time, that we may not know about the SCFA, or something that you feel strongly about the California Community College football?
Well, there's a few things about California Community College football. First of all, number one, it's the best level of football played in the United States, in my opinion, top to bottom. And I know there's some very strong teams out in the rest of the nation, but they give scholarships. You know, they operate by a different set of rules. We have a very strong association of football colleges here. And I think we play the best community college football in America. I believe we offer opportunity to our student athletes in a way that gives them great chance for success. It's obvious that we're doing the right thing when we've got all kinds of student athletes from all other states in the nation wanting to come here and play because of the opportunities we afford them. And we're open access colleges, and we're going to do the best we can with the athletes we have. My personal opinion is that we've got to make sure we serve our local athletes, give them opportunities, but at the same time, we understand that there's going to be athletes from all over the nation, all over the state coming to various colleges that want opportunities. The only other thing I would say is I want to take my hat off to our coaches. Our coaches have done an outstanding job this year dealing with this pandemic, keeping their athletes involved. There's all kinds of creative ways that they've used to keep in contact with them and keep them in school. And they really, really believe in what they're doing and the importance of keeping all those at-risk athletes involved with education. So that would be my final comment. I take my hat off to the coaches. If it was in the old days when I was still a coach, I wouldn't know how to handle all this technology and stuff, and I would be a failure. But these young guys, these coaches are great, and I take my hat off to them. And we're going to get over this, and we're going to keep going in the right direction. I know, very soon. I hope.
Corey, was Jim just telling me you're real old school?
Yeah, I'm just old, man. Jim, thank you very much for joining us. And you know what? Don't forget, after tonight's game, we're going to talk about a little more football coming up on sportsnetusa.net with Jason Perez, who's actually going to interview the team manager for the University of Stirling football team from Scotland. So we get football now, wow. We get football later. So it's going to be an interesting conversation. It's going to be a fun conversation with Jason Perez and the representative from the University of Stirling football team of Scotland. So I'm going to watch that one. And Jim, again, thank you very much for your time and joining us, because you shed a lot of light that we needed on us. So thank you.
Anytime.
For Jim Sartoris.
I appreciate what you guys are doing.
All right. Oh, anytime. We're going to have Rich on the 7th. So January 7th.
Great. He's great.
He's going to talk as well. So Jim Sartoris, the commissioner for the SCFA, the Southern California Football Association. That's the commish right there. For Mark Pavlovich, Ed Ford, I am Corey Neyland, and you've been watching the show on sportsnetusa.net.